It's Tuesday, July 5th, 2016. It's time for WorthPoint Chats with Harry Rinker. I'm Greg Watkins, the editor at WorthPoint. And Harry, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and we may have confused some of our WorthPoint Chats with Harry Rinker listeners. Last week we announced that we would do this week's chat on Thursday at 2 p.m., but here it is Tuesday, 2 p.m., our regular time, and we're doing it. And the reason is very simple. Unfortunately, Linda got sick, and her ears get blocked, and when that happens, we can't fly, and so our trip to Canada was canceled. And so we're back at our regular time. Now, let's remind everybody that we do have to occasionally change our times from time to time, but what you do is go to my website, harryrinker.com, and there's a banner there, and it says when the next chat will be. Usually it'll say Tuesday at 2 p.m. at the moment. We're going to be changing them to nighttime chats come August, I believe, right?
That's right. We're gonna try to switch it to evening chats and see if we can increase the number of people that come watch us live. We do have a lot of people who watch the archive version on YouTube and on WorthPoint, but we like to have some live participation, so we're going to see what it looks like.
Right. And by the way, when we are up live like this, there is a chat message center that they should be seeing on their screen. I don't know how complicated it is to use. I know you and I can chat back and forth, but if you can get in there, you can send us a message and we'll talk about it on the air.
Right. It's just to the right of the screen when you're viewing on YouTube.
By the way, did you have a good 4th of July?
I had a really nice 4th of July. We didn't do much. We heard the fireworks going off, but we didn't see them. I actually had a lot of homework to do for some classes.
That's right. We should tell people that you're in class right now working on a set of skills to become a teacher.
That's right. I'm going for my my master's degree in teaching here in Georgia, and I hope to teach high school English and journalism.
Heaven help you. I don't know about the kids, but well, no, it's because I'm teaching online right now too. Just last week I started on Friday my 7-week online course on technical writing, which I teach for Davenport University. So, but anyway, going back to the 4th of July, an interesting holiday, very different from when I was a kid. Now, I lived in a small town, Hellertown, and it was like one of these Music Man towns but I mean, unfortunately what happened was that, well, sorry about that, I forgot to turn my phone up, but we'll leave that go. It'll die out in a minute. It'll die out in a minute. Maybe I'll just refuse to accept the call. There we go. Anyway,
okay.
What happened is that, you know, I hated the summer because I was in the Hellertown High School band, and our band uniforms were only for winter. But Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day, we marched.
Oh, those heavy wool uniforms, right?
Well, yes, it was. And it was you know, that they call about a run road town where it was 7-mile-long town with side streets.
Right.
So, and of course, to be fair to everybody, we started at one end of town and marched to the other end of town.
Dragging at the end.
Yeah, well, it was depending on where you were in the fate of things. Yes, that was correct. But anyway, long and the short of it, seriously, is that it was a great time, very patriotic time. A lot of 4th of July souvenirs. Now, today, I was talking to some friends earlier today, and they just told me, hey, you know, we were out at a parade and there was no band. How can you have a 4th of July parade without a band? But the more important thing was that there was a Bernie Sanders unit in the parade. And so I guess I have to get used to this. But, you know, patriotic collectibles, Uncle Sam collectibles, Eagle collect, you know, things with the American Eagle on there. There was always a steady core of people that collecting them, but I think to a degree it went down. And 4th of July, you know, there used to be postcards and a whole bunch of stuff for that. But so much of that has fallen on hard times, I think. And it's a shame, actually, because there's a lot of great graphics. I mean, boy, you could put together a heck of an Uncle Sam collection of memorabilia. And I think I want to take a moment and just pontificate for a second, and that is this. Right now, a lot of the objects in the trade have fallen in price. here's the good deal. They're affordable again. I mean, you could build up decent collections, oh, maybe not thousands of pieces, but decent collections for very small outlays and stuff. So if you're willing to get very specific and like buying 4th of July postcards or doing some of the rest of this type of stuff, you're going to put a collection together for a third, a quarter of the price it would have done if you were doing it 10, 15 years ago. So right now, the antiques and collectibles trade represents a huge bargain marketplace out there. Oh, so another thing is that I was thinking about this 4th of July, July 4th, 2016, right?
Right, okay.
10 years away from the 250th anniversary of America in 2026.
I guess that's true.
That is true. You didn't think about that either, did you?
I did not, and I was the bicentennial that far long ago?
Yes, it was 40 years ago, Greg. And it doesn't seem like just yesterday. I mean, seriously. I mean, I was around in the museum game in the late 60s and early 70s, and there was a lot of lead-up time to the bicentennial. In fact, by the time the bicentennial came, we were all so happy it was over with, we were ready to get on with our lives. And I think this is going to happen with 2026, too. A lot of it, unfortunately, is going to be done by 2026. Now, I'm a member of the Sons of the American Revolution 250th anniversary of the American Revolution Committee, and of course the battles and the things go on until 2031 because that's the celebration of the Treaty of Paris that ended the war. But the thing about it is that we've got to keep enthusiasm going. But at the same time, we're going to see a load of memorabilia, collector editions this and limited editions that. And here's my advice: don't buy any of them unless you like them, because there's just no secondary market for it. Even the secondary market for the centennial stuff from 1876 has taken a big beating recently. But going back to things, a friend came by the house the other day, and in 1976, as a young man, he bought a Weiler, W-Y-L-E-R, bicentennial pocket watch with the Spirit of 76, Liberty Bell on the closed case, and the Spirit of 76 on the back. You know what the Spirit of 76 is? That's the one with the guy carrying the flag and the
pipe and the
pipes. Yeah, you got it right. So he said to me, "How much is it worth?" And I said, "Oh, no problem. I'll punch it up into the internet." And so I punched it up into the internet, and guess what happened? Nothing came up. I should have maybe tried WorthPoint, which I didn't do. But the point is that I couldn't find a. And normally, if it's on WorthPoint, it pops up in the first couple of pages of listings.
Right.
So he said, "Well, I have this watch," and he said, "Boy, it must be rare. There's none out there being offered for sale." And I said, "That's one way to interpret that. The other way is that there's absolutely no market for this stuff, and as a result, why
people have taken them all down."
Yes, that's exactly right. So he said, "Well, I took it to a jeweler. The jeweler was nice. He said, it has a Swiss movement in it." And I said, "Swiss movement be darned. It didn't say what kind of quality it was. 17 jewel, 19 jewel, 21 jewel, that type of thing. It is a shame, but a lot of people spend good money on during the bicentennial on some of that stuff, thinking X number of years later, and it's 40 years later. Come on, that's past Rinker's 30 years rule. That for the first 30 things of Rinker's rule is, for the first 30 years of anything's life, all its value is speculative, right?
Right.
So that applies to women and wives and children and all kinds of stuff. But in terms of antiques, so it's long past the 40-year rule. And the answer is there's no speculation left anymore for that Weiler pocket watch. There's no market for it. That's the problem. Hey, by the way, speaking of things, listen, I have to hold this up because you haven't seen this yet. Here.
No, I have not. You told me about it.
See if we can get this up there real close here. This is from Antique Week.
Yeah.
See it there? We're on Antique Week.
There we are.
An article about WorthPoint jets with Harry Rinker, and guess what? There's the intro sheet. And it's an article by Carol Deutsch, and it goes on for a whole other page, almost half a page in the paper again. So we're making some waves out there. People are learning about us.
That's
good.
Some
of them are watching us now, as a matter of fact. So, and by the way, we love to get questions from our listeners, whether they're about an object or whether they're about what's going on in the trade. And there's an easy way for you to get a question to us. You just have to send it to community@worthpoint.com. That's our email address, community@worthpoint.com. And you can ask a question for me to comment on and Greg to comment on, or you can send an object and so forth, and we'll be glad to look at it. And we normally in these chats try to take a couple of objects here, and I think we have a couple objects today, and I know we have two of them ready to go, and you're going to surprise me with what's the first one we're going to talk about.
Oh, okay. Do I get to pick? All right, let's do this.
We're going to find out what you're really interested in here, Greg.
I want to see. I want to hear what you have to say about this mounting stuff.
Yes. Well, why don't we not use the term mounting stone, because that could conjure up the wrong images. No. No.
Stepping stone?
Yes, a stepping stone or whatever. No. The correct term. But this is one of those things where you have to know what the correct term is, right?
Right.
And the correct term is indeed a mounting stone. Now, this one has a rather interesting history to it. Supposedly, it was purchased in Pennsylvania at an auction. It's now sitting out in the Midwest. And the question becomes, what's its value? Well, I suppose if you don't have a horse or you don't have something you want to mount, it's pretty stupid. But the point is, it's a great conversation piece. When I went to do research on this, I was startled by the fact that almost all the information I found was about English mounting stones. That is, when you go up to Worthopedia, the article is done by someone in England that talks about all the mounting stones all over England. Now, I like to visit American historic sites, so I've been to Williamsburg and many other places, and I know at old taverns and so forth, and the old mounting stones outside are still there, and there's a market. Now, the question is, if you wanted a mounting stone, where can you find one? Well, you can go up to eBay, but what you'll get is modern ones. They're made of plastic and stuff, or people will build wooden ones. Stone ones are quite nice, and this is one of those interesting pieces that falls into a category that never made any of the price guides, Greg, which is always fascinating to me, called architectural salvage.
Yes, right.
Now, if I was doing a price guide today, I'd have architectural salvage in there, because this is the category that covers all the things that are left over from buildings. Lead glass is an example of leaded glass window is an example of architectural salvage. Grist mill stone is architectural salvage, right?
Right.
Old timber from a barn is architectural salvage, and lighting, hall lights and stuff that were taken out of homes, and they get sold at architectural salvage places. Now, down in Adamstown, Pennsylvania, there's a whole store devoted to architectural salvage, and there are a number of specialized architectural salvages all over, companies all over the United States. I caught one out of New England when I was doing some research work on this piece. And here's the deal. Conservatively, and this is the problem, you got to have the right market for it. Conservatively, this has a retail value of about maybe $750 to $900, maybe even more. Now, the problem is, it doesn't lack any provenance. That's part of the deal. The second thing is, it's got more value, as you might suspect, in horse country, or where they have carriages, or something like that, or there's a museum that has this type of stuff. But here's the problem with architectural salvage. Its value is very different if you're trying to sell it versus if you're going to go out and buy it. Now, when we appraise antiques and collectibles, we normally use what we call retail value, what you would pay if you went out to buy the object if it was stolen or broken or whatever. And clearly, even for a mounting stone like this without much provenance, if it's in the hands of an architectural salvage place, you're going to pay $700 to $900, maybe even a little bit more. But the problem is, what will they pay if you're trying to sell it to them? And the answer is probably not more than $100 to $200. Because architectural salvage places carry huge inventories. And these inventories can sit for years. And so they can't afford to invest a lot of money in the pieces as they're coming in. This is what happens when people see, come to me with all these old parlor lights. You know what I'm talking about, in a home hallway or something like that, or a dining room.
Very large, fancy.
Even chandeliers. And they say, oh my gosh, I saw this advertised for $6,000-7,000. I said, fine, if you get $500 for it selling it to an architectural salvage place, you're going to be lucky. Or if you go to auction, you might get a little bit more, but nobody's going to pay big prices for it. This architectural salvage business is a business of the trade that works on one very simple premise. If you need it, you're going to pay for it. It's almost like Replacements Limited. The famous
the China and
yeah. I used to kid Dale Fredrickson and the guys down there that have that place. I said, yeah, what you rely on is the husband or spouse who broke a piece in the wife's favorite China service that came from her grandmother, and if he or she wants to maintain their marriage, they're going to pay whatever it takes. And I said, you know that, and you make them pay, and they do actually.
That's right. So
but that's all part of market supply and demand. I mean, that's what we do in the antiques and collectible business. We talk about market supply and demand.
Right, and the owner of this stone could try to sell it for a higher price than to a salvage company, but you can't sell it on eBay because the shipping's going to kill you. It's
not going to kill you, but it's going to kill the buyer. But the buyer's going to take the shipping cost into consideration, right?
Yeah.
Now, you can try it on Craigslist, but then again, that's a much more narrow market. And how do you know that there's going to be a person on Craigslist that's going to be looking for a stepping stone in that given time when you have it up there?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's fascinating. It's fascinating to me, the whole business. And it's fun to see this type of stuff. Now, I suppose you didn't try to run stepping stones on the Worthopedia, did you?
I did not get a chance, no.
No. Well, I'm going to tell you what. If you find stepping stones on the Worthopedia, I'll be impressed. So that's a challenge for you here.
I'll tell you what. As soon as we put up the next set of pictures, I'm going to run a search.
I thought maybe you might. Try to see if you could catch me on this one. Well, another couple of other things. I got an interesting email in from a gal who has just been, enjoying putting together large piles of stuff. I mean, collecting is an addiction. We know that.
Right.
Well, and she's bought some really strange stuff. But she bought a lot of vintage clothing and lingerie. She bought, utensils and pots and pans, which may not have been a smart thing to buy. And she bought some toys. And she wrote to me and she said, "Hey, Harry, I've got this huge pile, over 15,000 objects."
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's small by my numbers. I was above 50 at one point. But the thing was, she says, I'd like to find somebody that would buy them in bulk. I'd like to find somebody that would buy them in bulk from me, right?
Yes.
And I'll sell them at a good price to them so they can still make a profit. Here's the problem that she has. First of all, if you're a dealer and you're buying in bulk and you have to take the whole pile, you're going to estimate really low because chances are half or more of the stuff you can't use. If a dealer was looking at 1,000 pieces of clothing, he'd want to cherry pick it, or she'd want to cherry pick it. Take out the stuff they could sell. And so I thought a lot about this gal, and this is the kind of gal we don't want to lose in the antiques and collectible business. And so I said, well, one of the things you can do is go to a local flea market or a mall and look for specialized dealers in those areas, right? And try to talk with them. She tried emailing vintage clothing dealers and calling somebody. That didn't work. Okay. Now, she might be successful in getting rid of a large amount of it that way. I mean, I think it's time for a blowout auction if she wants to get rid of the total and just take her wins and losses along the way. But the thing about it, and if she was near Allentown, I tell her to talk to my good friend Kevin Smith, who has not only a good auction, but that monthly swap trading board. That's like that. We talked about that before, I think, in the past. This is an auction where everything, 6,000 items are put up on a bid. It's often talked as a bid board auction. And then there's tickets there, like a charity sale, and then you write prices in there, and then it closes off in one day. Now, Kevin got smart. He used to close it, the entire thing. Now he closes it in sections, and so people run around and protect their bids. But some of the stuff can do very, very well. He got rid of 35,000 objects for me, and I have no complaint at all about his success in doing that. Anyway, back to square one here with this. What this gal should do is she should think about becoming a picker. Now, you know what a picker is, right?
I do know what a picker is. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, a picker is someone in the trade who picks for a dealer. And I know, I mean, back in Pennsylvania, I knew a lot of pickers that made a living at it. I mean, what they would do is, well, they could also pick for a collector too. What they would do is they would go find a dealer, and they would say to the dealer, I'd like to pick for you. Can you show me what it is you want and tell me how much you're willing to pay? Okay, and that's the key. And then the picker goes out and works the Goodwill stores and the flea markets and the garage sales and yard sales, or whatever term you want to call them, even the estate sales, and tries to find stuff priced well below what the person will pay for. He knows what the dealer wants, and so he'll pick it and send it up the line. He'll take a quick profit, usually doubles or triples his money, but he buys very much on the cheap. Picking was one of the ways people learned the business in the old days. I mean, they picked for private collectors and dealers. Now, you have to be careful because when you work with a picker, pickers can work you. I had a picker that worked me. He told me about a painting that he had a line on, and then he would come to me and say, well, I'm getting close to that painting, Harry, but I need some money. Can you give me $100 for this pile of stuff? And you figure, well, you don't want him not to come to you when you want the painting, right? When he finally gets the painting, so you give him $100, and boom, you're stuck with $100 worth of stuff you don't want. Before you know it, it's $1,000 worth of stuff you don't want. Now, in fairness, in the end, it wasn't that it was bad stuff necessarily. It wasn't the stuff I was interested in. I wasn't turning it, so it just went on my pile. But in the end, he got me the painting, and at a great price too. I mean, it's still one of my prized possessions in there. But you have to be real careful. Pickers can work you just like you can work pickers. And the problem with a picker, if you run a picker, you have to back him up. If he calls you from the field and says, hey, I found this thing, and what are you willing to pay for it, right?
Right.
Well, by gosh almighty, that happened to me one time, and it turned out to be a fake. I had to pay the picker anyway because he didn't know it was a fake. And he described it to me over the phone. I should have asked some more intelligent questions. But I mean, I could tell you picker stories till they're coming out of my whatever. But, you know, learning to be a picker and working with real high-end, very qualified antique dealers is a wonderful way, really, to get into the trade. And something that I recommended to this gal as well. Well, yeah, you talked about another picture. Because I want you to run up there and check that stepping stone business out. I got an interesting email in, okay, and it said it's about a book. Now we had another book of the Rogers and Hammerstein Carousel book. This one is an older one. It's a Masonic book, and the guy writes to me and says, I've got a book called George Washington and His Masonic Compeers, C-O-M-P-E-R-S, by Hayden, published in 1867, right? Right?
Yes.
But now, here's the problem. In his email, now this is the spine of the book. I didn't look at the picture. I just read the email first. George Washington and his Masonic career. So I start Googling George Washington and his Masonic compeers, and here's the deal. I couldn't find anything. And I'm getting really frustrated because I'm looking at the book picture. And then finally, I did exactly what you're showing here. I read the darn spine. And the book's title isn't George Washington and his Masonic compeers. It's Washington and his Masonic compeers. Well, once I had the title right, then I'm able to go. And by the way, this is a huge point in talking about trying to research antiques and collectibles. You need to know the exact wording or title, or you need to know what the right buzzwords are to put in there, because otherwise you're just going to get frustrated and you're not going to find what it is you need to know. And this is a great example of the problems associated with doing that research work. Okay, well, once I had the title down, of course, I was able to research Abe's books. Now, this book is interesting, of course, because I try to tell people that are dealers in the antiques and collectibles trade, use your head. Ask yourself, how many buyers are there for this object? And the goal is to try to find somewhere between maybe 3 to 5 buyers. So let's look at this one here. First of all, you have George Washington people, right? But then you have a Masonic buyer, and that's probably really the most important one. And then you have someone that's studying the history of the Masons. So you've got 3 potentially good buyers. Now, the person that sent this to me also sent me a copy of the title page, which was very nice, and that was very helpful. Masonic Publishing and Manufacturing Company in New York, 1867. But above New York, there you can see the word 6th edition. Got hone in on that one? Yeah, 6th edition it says. Yeah, and so you say, okay, well, we know it's not a 1st edition, and value is often in the 1st edition as opposed to that. So I'm thinking, well, you know, just from a general guessing point of view, I figured between $75 and $90, maybe a little bit more. Well, I go up on Abe Books and I find a ton of these things up there, all the same thing. There's Washington and his Masonic compeers from one dealer asking in Detroit, asking $109, $110. There's another dealer in Santa Rosa, California, offering $150. There's one in Portland, Oregon, who wants $200, and there's another one. It doesn't say. Oh yeah, in Cleveland, Ohio, who wants $227. But it's interesting. What happened is the one for $227 is the 9th edition, and every once in a while, especially in books like this, the subsequent editions may have additional material found in them. That's like if you're going out to buy a book, we get a little sidetracked here, but if you're going out to buy a book on fakes and reproduction, you're going to buy Ruth Webb Lee's book on fakes. You don't want the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 5th edition. You want the 5th, 6th edition and up, because she kept adding to the book each time, and each time the more information that was in there, the more valuable it becomes. Now, of course, all these books on A-Books have one thing in common. We talk about that all the time. They didn't sell. And so as a result of all of this, why we want to be a little cautious and say we want to be careful with this. What do I think its value is on a quick sell? $50 to $75. $100, $75 to $90 should sell it. Once it's over $100, it's going to stall out a little bit. I don't think there's that many people that want this type of thing. The other thing, too, you have to be real careful of. A lot of these books now are winding up online. And the person who just wants the information from the book is going to go up and read it online. Not going to give a hoot about this. In fact, ran across this recently, was trying to research a local county history that one time was about a $400 or $500 book, and now you can buy the period ones from the early 19th century for less than $100 because it's available online everywhere. If you just want the information, you can get it without any trouble. But let's throw out this thing again. The place I went was abebooks.com, ABEBOOKS. Probably the best website we have for all of this. Well, we're getting near the end of the show today again. What's going on at WorthPoint, Greg? Anything we need to know about?
Well, we just added some new information to the Marks product, the maps standing for marks, autographs, patterns, and symbols. We just uploaded about 200 new autographs, and that's an area in which we're trying to get more information in. It's taking a while for each one. It's a little bit harder to get the autographs digitalized than it is a mark, but we're slowly building up that category within the database. So we're adding there, and again, we're doing the beta testing on the Marks image recognition ability, where you slide a photograph of your mark onto the WorthPoint site, and if we have that mark, it will match it for you. Now, again, it's a beta test, and it is not matching everything perfectly, but we're tracking all of the information about it. So we hope to have this product up and working full strength soon.
Now, is your contest over?
Yes, the contest ended. I have not heard if they have picked the winner, but
I was going to say, you're not the winner, though.
Well, I don't think I can be the winner because I work for the company.
Where you're disqualified for employing all that other business?
Yeah, but they're talking about the next contest and kicking around places to go. So evidently, we're happy with the results.
Well, that's good. Well, I want to get one quick mention. We're not going to be doing a show next week, and that's because I will be at the Institute for the Study of Antiques and Collectibles from Monday through Saturday, teaching the 3 courses we're doing this summer, the one on researching antiques and collectibles, the next 2-day course on paintings, watercolors, and prints, which I'm going to finish up the outline on this afternoon, and then finally toys, games, and puzzles. That one, the first and the third outlines are done. I'm very excited. The painting one is coming along very nicely, too, in the way that I want, but if you're interested in coming and want to come at the last minute, we'll still take your money. Go to my website, harryrinker.com. As you can see, click on the Institute logo. The information about the courses and so forth is there. The location is Lansing, Michigan, in the Old Town area at a wonderful place called the Gallery. So a lot of things there. Well, anyway, but we will be back the week of the 18th through the 22nd, and we will be doing it on that Thursday.
Thursday, July 21st, right.
July 21st at 2 p.m., and I know we're going to do it then because I will be in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday and Wednesday for the Citizen Stamp Advisory Committee meeting, so I know that's a go there, too. So next week, we're taking a little vacation break, and then the week after that on Thursday at 2, and then we'll be back on the regular Tuesday at 2 o'clock time on July 26th, and then moving to nighttime, I believe, sometime in August, right?
Yes, as soon as I can figure out my class schedule, figure out what nights.
So, but here's the deal, right? Deal's a simple one. Go to my website, harryrinker.com. That'll tell you when we'll do the next WorthPoint chat with Harry Rinker. Greg, have a great week.
I will, Harry. You too. And we'll see you all next week. No, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now on Thursday. We'll get it right. Check Harry's schedule.